Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible, one brave word at a time. And we're here today with the authors of a new book we have coming out to help me with that mission. The book is called Inspired Living: Superpowers for Health, Love, and Business. And before I introduce these amazing people to you, let me just say a huge thank you to Carolyn McGee, the lead author of Inspired Living. Carolyn had a big mission with this book to really help people understand what it means to live a daily life in inspiration and to make your daily life a sacred haven. And I loved everything about your mission, Carolyn. Thank you so much for getting this stellar group of authors together to share in this book collaboration and this mission of yours. We would not be here without you. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the amazing author experts that I have with me in this Zoom room today. Sunshine Beeson's business of 39 years in spiral iridology and alchemy hypnotherapy. Ooh, easy for me to say, right? She analyzes the iris of the eye to get to the root core cause of struggles of physical and emotional health. As a master energy healer and coach, Jacqueline Kane uncovers and transforms the blocks causing your physical, emotional, and financial pain so that you can live the life you were born for. Mark Porteous connects transformational leaders to who they are at soul level, why they are here, and to those who can help them to thrive in their divine purpose. And Kathy Boyer is here. She's an animal communicator and energy healer for animals, an author, a teacher for Communication with All Life University, who loves to bring healing to both animals and their human caregivers. Oh my goodness, you guys, we're going to have fun with this conversation today. Okay, Sunshine, you're going to start this party off. Tell us about your wonderful chapter.
So my chapter is called From Fear to Freedom Through Divine Courage and Trust. It's chapter 13. And it was curious to me as I began writing this, because generally I don't feel like I have fear in life. I trust life. However, there were two components that came up for me that really registered as fear. I came from Canada many years ago when I was 10, and we had to deal with this immigration thing. And every year, not every year, every 10 years, I have to deal with the immigration card because I'm an alien. So interesting, an alien. But I would have such fear dealing with government issues, and that was one of the fears. And then the other one that came up, a long time ago, I had my own cleaning business, and anyway, it was a long story, but I was being audited, and the woman that audited me took me to court 4 times, and I was clean and clear. The judge was clean and clear for all of it. And that put me in such fear. And what I realized about that, because I get to the core underneath all of emotional issues, is, and I'm also into epigenetics, which is emotional ancestry, realizing that I took on a lot of my mother's fears that she dealt with because she was born in China and had to deal with a lot of different struggle and moved to Canada in her 20s, but there was a lot of fear in there, and that transferred energetically to me. And these government things, every time it was a government thing, this fear came up. Well, I have a very deep connection with spirit, with spiritual sources and Native American teachings. And when I really stepped into my practice and followed my own teachings, that's what got me through. That's what got me to recover and let go of that fear, so that what happened is the outcome was exceptional for some of these things that I was dealing with.
So fear and I call it purpose-driven fear is one of my favorite topics ever. And I love to talk about that transition from fear to freedom. So I love the topic of your chapter. And I really enjoyed how you very vulnerably took us through the story of that case and just how you were feeling and how that was affecting you. It was really, I mean, y'all badasses for sharing these stories with the world, right? But that was like, whoa, okay, she went through that, right? So maybe I'll survive this thing that I have to do too. You guys are all giving people permission to like live their lives in a much better way just by sharing these stories. But the fear thing, like, what's a way we can know if it's passed down? What's your clue for people to wake up to that?
Well, it's almost like when you feel it so much at a soul level, where it's consuming, like it completely takes you over, and the content isn't, it doesn't match. It doesn't match the situation, right? So you have this completely debilitating type of experience, and the situation doesn't call for that, right? So I feel like when it's deep in your bones that way, that it's definitely a genetic or an epigenetic emotional ancestry kind of situation, which I came to learn more about, that that's what it was.
That's great because, and essentially, in all of your chapters, you're sharing these beautiful moments of awareness. And if we can practice, and if we're in one of our moments and think, wow, why does this feel like a totally blown out of proportion reaction to what this is? And so I love that you're helping us understand and discern, because those to me are life-changing moments when we can wake up to that stuff. Thank you, Sunshine. Stay tuned, you guys. We're going to hear more from Sunshine and about her chapter in a minute. So Jacqueline Kane, can you tell us about your amazing chapter?
Yes, my chapter is chapter 16, Heal Your Inner Saboteur, Ignite Your Ability to Attract Greater Abundance. And feeding off a little bit of Sunshine's ancestral stuff. As you know, this is an area that I just love. And I kind of say that it's a red flag, right? If you're doing something, if you're trying to make progress and it's not working, that's a red flag that it could be ancestral, whether it's in your health and you've tried everything to heal your body, to get out of pain, or your emotional stuff, you've tried everything and nothing's working. That's when you have to look at the ancestral stuff. And even maybe a little bit of your saboteur. We've all been through trauma and events that have created fear-based personas inside of us. And I find that once I figured my own saboteur was sabotaging my results, now I see it in my clients faster and faster. Of you're trying to reach a goal, you're trying to create more visibility, and all of a sudden a family member gets sick, which takes you off your path, and now they're the main focus. Or you end up in a car accident, or something just out of the blue happens and it's a big triggering, like what just happened. That's a red flag that you may have a really strong inner saboteur that's keeping you stuck because it's not comfortable where you want to go. The person you want to be when you're more visible and you have that kind of business, you're not that person yet. And you haven't been raised in an environment to be that person. So it's really triggering to the nervous system, and we cause things to happen.
Oh my goodness. So how do we pause that? Again, this is an awareness game, right? What's the best first step way to pause so we don't have a car accident, so we don't have something serious stopping us up in our tracks?
Like you said, the first step for any shift is awareness. We have to know that it's happening. It took me a long time in my business. I hired one coach after another, did one program after another, only to get the same monetary results at the end of my year. So it's awareness, it's having the conversations and not giving up, still wanting to figure it out. And then when you see the pattern, oh my God, I'm the common denominator to these things not working. I can't blame anybody else anymore. Then once you have that, then it's like, okay, maybe it is my saboteur. Maybe I'm scared about going there. What's the reason that this is showing up? And keep asking questions.
Yeah, oh my gosh. The big questions, I think, are game changers. Thank you, Jacqueline. There's so much more to this topic. This is such a juicy topic, you guys, that we're opening this up with today. Thank you. Okay, Mark, you're next. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
Thank you so much. My chapter is chapter 24. It's Leading with Soul, a simple practice to thrive in your divine purpose. And it really comes from when I was 22 years old. I was working for Greenpeace in 1992. And my girlfriend brought me into the very first metaphysical bookstore that I had ever been into. And I read the quote that we are not spiritual beings having we are not human beings having spiritual experiences. We are spiritual beings having human experiences. And at that moment, I knew that I wanted to write a book that helped explain my spiritual understandings coming from a father who was a minister until I was 6, and different messages that I was getting that did not really fit in with all of that. So at that moment, I knew I wanted to write a book. I told my dad I wanted to write a book. He had written 3, and he said, well, don't expect to make any money writing a book. You have to have a business. And at the time, I didn't realize that the business could be related to the book. So instead, I created my own business selling souvenirs at amusement parks. I ended up having 100 employees around the country. One of them is now my wife. So I met her 30 years ago through this synchronicity of building this business. But in the process, realized that after 5 years of running it, I hadn't gotten any closer to writing this book, The Human Experience. So I quit the job. I went into sales and figured within 2 years I'd be able to write the book that my soul was calling to write. And 10 years later, my twins were born, and I still had no book. And I realized how fast those 10 years went. And I knew that if I didn't do something differently, that I would teach my children what we call the deferred lifestyle of putting off our purpose and our passion for what someone else thought that we should be doing. And I did not want my children to have that deferred lifestyle. So I by the time they were 1 year old, I finally had my book written, and went into the bookstore where I'd first read it. I showed my coach, the owner of the bookstore, and she said, "Oh dear, you're not ready to quit your job and to go off and save the world. You still need that job." And I was kind of crushed, but I spent the next year preparing for this. And then when I finally went, I was like, my wife was the one who said, "Oh, why don't you be a life coach?" And at the time, I thought that life coaches were just like a new therapy for wealthy housewives. And I looked into it and I realized that there were lots of really great people doing great things, but most people were still struggling. So I went in to get my own coaching certification to see if it was something I was interested in. And my first coach said something very interesting to me. He said, "What type of coach do you want to be? What is your niche?" I did not even really knew the word niche at the time. And I said, "I wanted to be a spiritual coach." And he laughed at me and he said, "You won't make any money doing that. You have to choose. You can pick any niche that you want, but it has to be one of these 3. It can be health, wealth, or love. Then you can sneak in spirituality like medicine and the dog food." And I bought into that lie for like the first 5 years of my business, and I struggled. And like Jacqueline Kane was saying, I had invested in all of these different programs that guaranteed if I did the same thing that they did, I would get the same results. And as we know, that's just not true. And so I realized that it really is about aligning with my soul purpose and leading with soul, which is really what the chapter is all about, and the magic that creates in our business, the synchronicities that creates, the opportunities that come in. Being here as part of this book was a series of synchronicities that came from me leading with soul.
I love the idea of leading with soul. How do you know you're doing it?
Um, there's a lot of different ways. Well, first of all, it's being able to practice intuition. That was something that I spent a lot of money and time in working on, because I thought women just had intuition and men just didn't have it. And so my wife is highly intuitive, but we didn't always listen to the advice that she was receiving and knew what she was supposed to do. And I think we hear that all the time, like, oh, I should have listened. And I think it's usually that. It's like listening, it's practicing listening to that inner voice and then surrendering. If you know that you're listening to your inner voice and your heart and soul, and then you surrender to the outcome, all that comes from it is exactly what we need.
That was like the perfect ever little summary of that. You're awesome, Mark. Thank you. Okay, Kathy, let's hear about your amazing chapter.
Hi, my chapter is chapter 3, which is called Healing After the Death of Your Pet, a simple technique to ease end-of-life trauma. And I really resonate with a lot of what Mark just shared. I've been a lifelong musician, professional musician for my entire adult life, but I always felt inside there was something more that I was called to do. And I've been a spiritual seeker as well, trying everything and just not really connecting with, the creative forces, and had a very religious upbringing and adulthood. Yet there was something lacking. And I'd found out about a 4-day animal communication seminar in Virginia Beach, and it piqued my interest. I thought, well, I love animals. And I, in the back of my head, one year I, watching the Dr. Dolittle movies and thinking it'd be so cool to be able to talk to animals. So I decided to sign up for this conference, just thinking I just wanted to learn more about it, not knowing it's something I could learn to do. So the strange thing was that one of my horses, I had 2 horses at the time, he colicked the night before the conference, and he passed away the morning I was getting in my car to drive to the conference in Virginia Beach. And I also have a lot of cats, which are parts of my story. But anyway, it devastated me, but I knew it was not a coincidence that he died that morning. There was something more that was connecting all of this. So I attended the conference, and not only learning about the communication, and actually probably the first day I realized this is what I want to be when I grow up. I knew I'd found my niche. I didn't know what I was going to do with it or anything else. It was kind of off the wall, but I don't think that way anymore. To me, it's just normal life now. So along with the communication was a total aspect of energy healing that I was not aware of. I had experienced bits and pieces of it over the years and trying to get my health back. But when I learned a little bit more, specifically the tapping, the EFT tapping, which is the tool that I use in the book, it's you tap on acupressure points, and it helps release emotional stress from the physical body. The pieces started coming together, and I enrolled in the school. I graduated and had a large number of case studies we had to do. And through all this process, I received so much healing from the animals that I had lost and animals that I had loved over the years. Including Jake. I lost 17 animals in 20 years. Actually, 16 were cats and 1 was the horse. So I've experienced a lot of animal-related trauma around that, a lot of joys, a lot of ups and downs. The end-of-life issues just seem to ring true as something we all have in common with when we have an animal that we're the guardians for. And so I wanted to share the tool of tapping that I learned. So I share a little bit about the effectiveness, how it's helped other trauma-related events, pertaining to animals. And then I want to help people be able to recapture the love they had for that animal and not be stuck in the end-of-life story.
I definitely had a personal moment with your chapter. You allowed me to go back to one of my experiences that I didn't realize before reading your chapter I had been stuck in. And you just summarized it with, you can move beyond that story you're stuck in of that end of life. And they are traumas sometimes, aren't they? Like
Very much so.
These things don't go like we would like them to go, or maybe even we tried to plan them to go. What else do you want to say about that?
One of the things with the end of life is that we tend to lose sight of who the animal really was and what the joy. I mean, my cat, Big Boy, that I share about in that story, I had like 15 amazing years with this cat, just incredible love and cool things that he did and our relationship together. And then when he died, the end of life scenario was awful. And for 20 years, I couldn't get past that end of life scenario. And I'd forgotten the amazing, beautiful parts of him and the connection. And I lost all of that with just a few days worth of, trauma and anguish. So that was the big thing for me. We lose sight of their, their essence, their wonderful, beautiful personalities. And that's what I want to help people regain, those types of memories.
I think even just saying that out loud just now is going to help a lot of people just wake up in the moment when you realize you've been spending a lot of time stuck in that one moment of 20-year story. And in my case, you know, the dog lived till 17. We had a long, awesome life with that dog. You know, it was
Right.
So I love that. And thank you for helping me remember that there was a lot of good stuff before that one crappy day, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that, Kathy. Thank you. All right. So here, you know, here's this book, Inspired Living. And I have a question about this for all of you next. Jacqueline, I'm going to start with you for this one. What's one way you personally live an inspired life? What does that even mean to you?
Well, I guess I can show the comparison. I mean, years ago, I was probably more on the depressed side, quiet, sluggish, not really enjoying life. And now that I've been able to heal the majority of that, every day is like a new adventure. Every day is, oh my gosh, how does life get any better than this? So just planting seeds and allowing myself to receive all the goodness that's really here for us is fun and easy. And then just thinking, well, what else is possible? Just having conversations. And what if I'm a massage therapist? So what if I actually scheduled monthly massages for myself? What if my husband and I actually went away for a little bit every month? Those are things that I didn't think were possible before. And the more you receive, the more it gets addicting of what else can we achieve and have fun doing.
I appreciate that you did the comparison for us, because I want all of the listeners to really understand it's my favorite question ever. What else is possible, right? And I'll just say a quick thank you to all of you. I said it a little bit a few minutes ago, but thanks not only for saying yes to this project, but for taking on the challenge of really bringing your real stories to life in the book, but also stepping up as the master teachers you all are. Thank you so much. It's one thing, and you all do it all day long. You coach people, you teach people, but it's quite another thing to get that in black and white in a book in a way that the reader has this amazing, practical, awesome experience, right? You all did that so brilliantly, and I appreciate it. And Jacqueline, I love the way that you just helped us with the comparison, because that's might give a listener a wake up moment. Like, yeah, if you're sitting in depression, if in kind of like a zombie sort of life, feeling a little bit numb, and you just simply breathe into the question of what else is possible, that can change everything. It's a pretty big deal.
It is. And, you know, so many people will come in and I'll be like, okay, what's your pain today? And after a massage, they'll be like, oh yeah, I have chronic low back pain. You know, it's so much a part of their lives that they don't even realize it, that when you ask them, they're like, I'm good. And isn't that sad?
You're like, really? Are you good?
It's a 10 every single day. So yeah, awareness, and oh my gosh, absolutely what's possible. There's so much more for people that they haven't even stepped into.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. Mark, how about you? What is a way that you live your inspired life? What does that mean to you?
Well, first of all, I just loved the title. I was so happy when I heard the title, because what is inspired? Inspired means with spirit. And so for me, inspired living means living with spirit. And if you believe that we truly are spiritual beings having human experiences, which I do, and I believe all of us here on the panel do, then it's everything that we do, everything is spiritual. And so our work, the life that we live, are all a sacred path. The way that I show up try to show up as a husband, certainly as a father, and in my business, it's all the things that I do, I look at as spiritual training. So it's not just my business, it's everything is inspired living. And like Jacqueline said, it's just so exciting and so fun. It's such an adventure when you know that you're being guided, that you have this higher part of you that is on the journey with you, and you have an entourage of angels and spirits and guides, both on the other side and here on earth, that are guiding you on your mission. It makes life so exciting. And yes, we still have our challenges and our ups and our downs, just like everybody else. But when you're inspired, you know that you can surrender to the bigger picture and know that you're on the right path, and it just makes life fun.
That everything is happening for us. We hear that term a lot, right? And just being awake to that idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, love it. I love it. Being with spirit in your moments. Hey, it doesn't even really matter if you're having a bad day or a good day. I think what I have to realize is I am giving the meaning to that day. And if I can wake up to what you're talking about, it's like, it's all good. There is a bigger picture I can't see. I'm going to surrender to trusting that, and I'm going to move forward.
It
Right.
actually helps us to seek blessings in disguise. So often we see these things that are happening, we're like, why is this happening? And if you really look into it and you're open to it, you can find that there is always a silver lining.
Thanks, Mark. Kathy, how about you? What's one way you live an inspired life? What does this mean to you?
Well, once again, I resonate with everything that's been shared, and I feel like I've been on a similar journey. I went through a divorce almost 8 years ago, and that led me to my transformational path, along with the animal communication has been part of that. But a huge thing that's probably stuck out more than anything is just having the attitude of gratitude. And I've had a lot of ups and downs like everybody else, but when I started flipping things and started being grateful for even the small things, and I do this every day in the morning when I do my morning meditation, the 5 to 10 things I'm grateful for within the past 24 hours, and, at nighttime as well. And there's always something. And even when I go for my, hikes up in the mountains, which I did this weekend, I'm thanking everything along my path, all the flowers, the trees. I mean, it's just, it's an attitude that I've cultivated that's been a game changer. And even, regarding the animals, I'm grateful for every one that I have now. I have 4 cats. I have 1 horse that I board, but I'm so grateful to these cats for the joy they bring to my life, the day-to-day love and companionship. I'm grateful I have a house. I'm grateful really for everything. And even when things don't appear to be like something seems to be like, why did this happen to me? I think Mark just shared. If I look beyond it, I see that there was a reason for it, and it can flip and become the blessing. So also, the spiritual connection has been the game changer, the spiritual being having a human experience. I resonate with that totally.
I think the energy of gratitude and appreciation is so badass and totally foundational to living an inspired life. And I would imagine that all of us would raise our hands to that being part of our practice, being in gratitude as a regular practice, like eyes open in the morning. Whoa, I love this bed. Thank you for this house and this bed and this nice pillow that my head is on. I mean, most of us have so much to be grateful for, and even on a bad day. And I think these, for me, I call them my ninja moves of my mindset, right? Like if I can just switch into gratitude as a go-to, it works every single time. It's the best ever, Kathy. Thank you. Sunshine, it's hard to go last on these questions, right? Because we would say yes, 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 and yes. And what do you want to add? What's one way you live an inspired life?
Well, I love how Mark talks about spirit, and the way that I phrase that is that I think it's really important to go vertical before you go horizontal. And I think with a lot of entrepreneurs today that are inspired, when they have inspiration, we can get too much into the masculine energy of action, too much action, and then we lose sense of self, and sense of self is the feminine. So I really resonate about with self-care. I am a self-care advocate, and I also say the term, I'm self-full, not selfish. So I am in nature a lot. And Kathy, like you, I am so into horses. I had horses for 40 years and telepathically communicated with them. And I like to make the ordinary in life extraordinary in any way that I can. But I'm inspired every day by nature and by connecting, by tuning in.
I'm self-full, not selfish. I'm taking that one. I'm taking that one off of today. That's yes, and it has a really beautiful feeling because for me, I need to be full, literally, so that I can serve from an overflow. And yeah, we need to get rid of that term selfish and all of the feelings it conjures up. And oh my goodness, y'all can hear the people who said that to you maybe early in your life, don't be selfish. Like, oh my gosh. Okay,
Right.
so let's continue with this. And there were so many things I loved. I love that you love the title, Mark. There were lots of things I loved about our literal book title. And the next question kind of riffs off that. And I'm going to start, Mark, with you for this one. So sometimes what we least expect or maybe don't see in ourselves at first becomes a superpower. And I kind of want to know from all of you guys, what do you think about when it comes to one of your own superpowers and that journey to discovering it? Tell us about that, Mark.
I love that. And it's so great because when I think of my superpower, I realize I think of something that my wife once said. My neighbor said, "Is he always all happy like this?" And she said, "Yes, but it's not easy being married to Mr. Sunshine." And part of that is because I've always seen just the best in people. I see namaste means the God in me sees the God in you. And I've lived from that place. And that is also my kryptonite. I realize that my greatest strength is also my greatest weakness, is that I often, expect the most from people because I see the most in them, and that can set me up for disappointment. And I'm sure we've all been hurt by people who we really just loved and expected more from. And so I love being able to see the best in people, and I do see that as my greatest strength. And being aware of that, and conscious of that, and being discerning on how I can relate to people so that I can serve them without being vulnerable to them.
Man, you just said something so important that I want to pause on for a minute. You may have been told, somebody may have said something to you about how you were being, like, oh, Mr. Sunshine, whatever. And at whatever time of life you were in, and you took that in as oh, that's bad. And now here you are saying to us, it's the thing you love about yourself the most. So I want everybody listening to understand that you have to pause when someone kind of hits you with something like that. And if you can, take it with a grain of salt. If you can breathe for a moment and understand that they are saying it from their own place, their own filters, their own, maybe even wishing they could be a little bit like you. We don't have to take everything people say about us and take it in and spend our lifetime worrying about if it's wrong or bad or whatever. What if it's your superpower?
If I could add real quick, because something that Sunshine said earlier just really resonated, and it's about who we're being versus what we're doing. I believe that who you are being is the greatest contribution any person has to humanity.
Yes. Nice, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Kathy, let's continue this for you. What do you think about when it comes to one of your own superpowers and that journey that you've taken?
This is kind of hard to think about, but I think what I've always been able to do is to see the heart, to see somebody's heart, even, with the animals. I can feel them and I can see at the heart level. And my downfall with that is I tend to put up with unacceptable behavior, or I've done that because I figure, well, they're really a good person. They're really, they didn't mean to do that. And because I can see beyond the surface. However, now I see it as an asset. and to be able to see the good in people, the good in situations. And I hope that others can see that in me. And so I like to give that to others, to always look on the positive and see that, really their potential within their heart.
What you tagged on there, which is also really important, is understanding the boundaries of being that person who sees all the good in all the people all the time. And I don't take any shit either. Like
That's been a process.
Places.
Yes.
Yes. Right. Tell me what else you want to say about that.
Oh, just that, developing my own boundaries. And that's linked to self-care. As Sunshine was talking about, the better self-care I have, the better my boundaries are. And I can still see, the depths of people's heart and see all of that, but yet I don't have to be affected by it. And I've learned to manage my own energy, so I stay within myself and not taking on everybody's stuff like I used to, which those of us who are empathic, have probably experienced that. So that's been part of my journey too, not taking on other people's stuff, but yet still being able to see the beauty or what's not so beautiful.
That's awesome.
In the behavior.
Kathy's also talking about something that's important, I think, for all of our viewers, and that is managing your energy. So if this is a new topic for you, you're going to love the book, because all of our experts come at it from that standpoint. There is something to learn about your own energy, what that is, what it means, how you manage it, how it relates to being with other people. Oh my gosh, you guys know we could talk about this one all day long, right? Sunshine, how about you for this last question? What do you think about when it comes to your journey with your superpower?
Well, I have been called a seer, and the topic seems to be very familiar with us all here. And Kathy, very much like you, being able to see the depth. So I see myself as, especially with the iridology and the eyes, the left eye actually is the soul, connecting with the soul. So I have the ability to see down to the soul, underneath the shadow, into people's divine true self essence, and bring that out in them. So I would say, the seer.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I've learned a little bit about this art. You were saying iridology, and I've heard iridology. I just want to say both terms in case people are not quite hearing that word the way that they have in the past. But what a fascinating world that is. Is there anything else you want to tell us about why we should be curious about that?
Well, first I want to say iridology as opposed to iridology. We're not doing the ear, we're doing the eye. Right. Iridology. And which part did you want me to say more about?
Oh, just, tell us more about that, why we should be curious about this. What can it help us understand?
The iridology or being a seer?
Yeah, I'll take either, but iridology is what I was thinking.
Yeah, so iridology can go 3 generations back, 3 generations forward. So we can see what are these underlying issues, what are these imprints and behaviors that turn into our personality. And I think Jacqueline can really relate to this, maybe more because the work you do. So I deal with parts work of the inner child. I say that we're like a temple or an apartment with all of these rooms. And in those rooms, what is occupied there are the different ages of us that hold these structures and imprints. And those are the reactions, the reactionary ones, rather than responding. Responding is our adult integrated self. So with iridology, I can see all the physical parts of your body, starting from the gut outward, as well as your emotions and personality behaviors.
There's a lot here, you guys. There's so much to know and learn about these subjects. And we had started the interview today talking about ancestral healing. We've talked about energy medicine today. We've talked about so many big topics. Okay, Jacqueline, answer that last question for you. What do you think about when it comes to this journey of discovering your own superpower?
I think for me, it's problem solving. And just like Sunshine and Mark and Kathy, like which part of us is wounded and is looking to heal and is actually causing havoc in our lives. So we all have the soul of who we are, but then we've been conditioned to be a certain way. And and that conditioning causes us not to achieve what we would like to achieve. So I love problem solving and figuring out, okay, where's the energy? Why am I this way? Is there an energy, just like I think Sunshine had said, did I pick it up from an ancestor? Did I inherit it? Or am I so empathic today that I'm taking on everybody's drama just by watching TV and in the world events? So it has been a journey of understanding who I am at soul level, and then always every day creating an energetic ritual to get back to that, because I can take stuff on all day long. And before I realize it, I'm either exploding or I'm in pain or I'm angry. So it's a constant daily practice to stay grounded and always get back to who I am.
Give me like a little brief idea about what an energetic ritual might be for you.
So sometimes before I even get out of bed, I'm already like, or before I go to bed, sometimes I'll pull my energy back, because at the end of a long day, we've given energy to everybody and we've left our energy with them. So sometimes I just do a ritual of and state my name, call my energy back from all the places I've left it, so that I can sleep fully with my energy and I release anything that's not mine. Sometimes it's just a simple phrase like that. And then in the morning, it could be doing some tapping, doing some journaling, maybe be out in nature, start to visualize what I want to attract that day. It could be a small thing or it could be hours long, depending on the day.
Yeah, I love it. I love just giving people different ideas of what that means. You guys, you're all doing that so amazingly today. Just so many ideas of ways we can think about living an inspired life. Okay, I've got one more question for all of you. We're going to have to maybe do the speed dating version of the answer today. Okay, as we wrap this up with this last question, Kathy, I'm going to start with you. We healers and guides and coaches and experts, we like to talk about ourselves as a guide or a facilitator on the journey. We're not here to fix people, right? We're here to empower them to connect to their own inner wisdom. So I just want a sentence or two from each of you to help the listeners feel empowered. What is that message you have for them today?
I would say to always seek something that you're trying to find the answer to, and you will always find it if you're genuinely seeking it, whatever area of your life.
I love it. That is simple and powerful. Thank you, Kathy. Sunshine, how about you?
I just want everybody to know that they are perfect the way that they are, and that the answers are all inside. They are born with true innocence.
I love it. Thank you. Also perfect and powerful. Jacqueline, what's your version?
Be very clear in asking for what you would like to receive, and then be open to what the universe sends you, whether it's a sign on as you're driving or something a friend says. The universe, you are always 100% supported by the universe.
Nice. I like it. Be clear in your asking, be open to receiving. I love it. Mark, you were going to close out the party today. What is your version of this? What do you want people to know to help them feel empowered today?
I love that Jacqueline said a lot of what I was going to say. So I'm going to kind of go back to what Sunshine was saying. I think the most important thing to understand is that we are divine beings. You, the listener, you are a divine being who chose this life for a reason. And that by living in alignment with that higher purpose, that higher divine part of you, all of your life will be better, and everyone around you will be, their lives will be enriched because of who you're being.
Nice. Thank you all. Authors, thank you so much for what you do in the world. And thanks for being here to share it with everyone today. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing us all together. And I'm so honored to be part of this beautiful panel.
Thanks, Mark. All right, you guys. So, we are inviting you to join us for the live stream book launch party for Inspired Living. It's going to be on July 15th, 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to gather with all of our Inspired Living authors, and you're going to find that event on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page. If something that one of these authors said to you today just, I don't know, gave you the goosebumps or made you think of something a little differently, had you thinking about what might be possible, well, drop down into the show notes because they are all hooked up with their websites there. Take a click, have an exploration of the awesomeness they are up to in the world. It's a lot, and they're very generously there for you to answer questions and have a chat about what you heard today. So I hope you will all do that. And if you happen to be listening to this interview after that July date, well, that means that this book is ready to go and you need to get over to Amazon to buy your copy. All right, you guys, lastly today, I just want you all to remember your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone. Thank you, authors.
Thanks, Laura.